overcoming material shortages and how investments in recycling infrastructure will accelerate sustainable outcomes. And so we'll be looking at how LyondellBasell is actually betting very big on that integrated ecosystem to scale recycled materials and become the go-to innovation partner for brands, converters, and of course for retailers. And here come my panelists. We've got Hester Klein Lankhorst, who is, as just mentioned, the CEO of Verpact, bringing us that EPR perspective. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we also have Carsten Bertram, who's head of packaging sustainability at Henkel, bringing us the brand perspective, and Matthijs Beijk, who is the vice president of EMEAI Feedstock and Mechanical Recycling from LYB, so obviously the producer perspective. Please take a seat over there. Henkel is going to show us how early alignment across partners can actually turn this kind of a maze that you've just seen here into a map and help us all to hit real circular targets. So, welcome to all of you, and a round of applause for our panelists for starting this morning off. Need a proper welcome. Perhaps we can just do a little quick round of introductions, because obviously Yvonne set you up, Hester, but because you are playing a central role, obviously, in making the packaging chain in the Netherlands more circular. Tell us about Verpact.
Yes, Verpact. Well, thank you for being here, for the welcome introduction, and buongiorno, because it's always nice to hear some Italian. Better than goedemorgen. But the EPR system in the Netherlands is one of I think the fastest systems in Europe. So we are the second one in Europe by reaching the goals. Belgium is first, so we have to speed up and beat them too. And I think that we do 88% of recycling and reusing in the Netherlands for all packaging. So that's a high rate. But of course we need more and more. And we are a chain director, we call it, in the Netherlands. So we just putting all the partners together to have the best chain for plastic packaging and to recycle it in the best way. So that's our part. It's about, I think, 1.5 billion euros a year it costs. So it's not a cheap system.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Including the deposit system. So it's not only producers who make the costs, but also the consumer. But it's not an easy and not a cheap system.
Absolutely, and we'll get to that. Scaling PCR, obviously not a simple thing, and the brand owners have a lot of trade-offs that they have to deal with. Carsten, tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Henkel and where Henkel fits into the space.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all. Thanks for having me. My name's Carsten, plastic engineer as a background, leading the sustainability side at Henkel Consumer Brands, a big brand owner. We're in the space of non-food, so detergents, home cleaners,
adhesives,
shampoos, and of course adhesives. So we're also supplying the packaging industry. So basically our adhesives are on all our products, whether it's automotives, whether it's packaging. And on this journey on the circular economy, we're in there since decades. So I've been working recently on a presentation for our ownership family. So we started already 1990 with the first projects when the dual systems actually in Germany started with the first collection. And we've been embedding this in our business really over the last decade and really started to step up, I would say, roughly in the last 10 to 15 years. So I started in the company 2010, and that time we started first with recycled PET material. Quality was there, was even at that time the implementation of cost saving. So we saw the first EPR systems coming up. The material was there, quality was decent, so we've seen this happening. And then, of course, over the last years, more and more volume has been integrated. And I would say the trade-offs we had at the beginning, they're not so much there today. So in the beginning, when we started with this transformation, the trade-offs, of course, were significant in terms of quality. The smell was horrible when I'm thinking about my first experience of recycled HDPE bottles, when it was like 2013 when we tested the first ones. It was horrible. It was like smelling like cigarette butts. disaster. So even going to marketing, we say, okay, can we do 10%? Was like, no. But over time, things improved through collaboration throughout the value chain. And now, I think when we talk about trade-offs with using recycled plastic, they are not there so much as in the past. So quality for our needs, and that's what I'm telling externally everywhere, but also internally. We have good quality even for contact-sensitive packaging. So we use 100% recycled plastic from household packaging in our shampoo bottles, even for leave-on products. So the quality is really good in terms of ability to produce high-quality packaging, in terms of smell, in terms of aesthetics, and also availability is there. So we see even in markets like Middle East Africa, we have almost tripled the amount of recycled plastic there, of course from a very low starting point. Availability is there. We see the technology is out there. We have great companies that are doing good technologies for sorting, cleaning, washing, decontamination. So the trade-offs is not there. What we see, of course, is a challenge is still the business case. It's costing money. While in the past it was actually cost saving because there was no demand but the feedstock was available. Now of course we see a surging demand, but I'm very happy that we see now with PPWR, other regulations, EPR North America. I was looking yesterday on the website of Verpact. So the way how it's being set up with the EPR systems, there's also a business case for more sustainable packaging, which is of course helping us from the brand owner side to do more and see also support on the commercial aspect. So seeing now 20 cents per kg for recycled plastic. So that's already starting point, plus eco-modulation for highly recyclable packaging. So we see there overall the right conditions to further boost recycled plastic integration, and would not talk too much about trade-offs anymore for a non-food brand owner. If we're talking about food business, which we're not in, or let's say for adhesive business where we have a lot of dangerous goods, of course there's still a lot of things to be done, obviously.
Okay, thank you very much for that overview. And obviously, PCR, feedstock, you are the man for the mechanical recycling portfolio of LyondellBasell. Matthijs Beijk, please tell us how the things look from your perspective in terms of the infrastructure and progress with that.
Yeah, I will do. I think maybe to start, we started our journey as LyondellBasell in 2018 with a joint venture with Suez, building the plant in Geleen, QCP, where we make some of the high quality mechanical recycled products. So together with Paula, I think we were there from relative to beginning. So I think we've learned also a lot. I think we have to recognize that as a petrochemical company, waste sorting, as Yvonne mentioned, this is not our expertise, but also the recycling we need to still learn. But we also have a lot of capabilities that I will talk about later that I think will benefit from getting to very high quality products. So I think what we do is, I think first what we want to make sure is we have a very full portfolio of high quality solutions that we can serve many applications. So I think you say indeed for non-food packaging there's already good quality available, but for food packaging there's not material available. In automotive, if you go interior, there is not yet recycled content available. So I think there's still a lot of development that we can do, and as we increase the applications we can reach, we can also increase the recycled content into the market. I think that's the first important thing. And I think we have a lot of technology expertise within LyondellBasell that we can leverage to create this. And we're building our integrated ecosystem with partners through joint ventures, with our own investments to bring scale into the market and consistency. I think today still, if you look at even the mechanical recyclers, there's not one mechanical recycler that has a pan-European footprint. They all are located in individual countries. And so the brands have to work with multiple of suppliers, managing this, different qualities, consistencies they get from suppliers to bring into their products. So maybe a few examples of what we then do. I think on the technology side, we're looking at all the recycling technologies for polyolefins. So mechanical recycling, chemical recycling, but also with APK, the dissolution or solution-based recycling technologies, to broaden the portfolio we can reach, but also to use all the polyolefin waste streams that are in the market. So not only the high quality mono bills, but also the mixed PO bills, the flexible bills, and bring this all into a high quality product. And I think this is really the challenge. If we want to make this also, I think, economically viable, we need to make sure that all these streams can get into a valuable application that the consumers or the brands are willing to pay for. Today, I think even in our QCP operations, we still have a big proportion of products that are not yet at that quality, and that has a big impact on the overall profitability. So I think this is very important, that we can basically take all the polyolefin waste streams and bring them into recycling solutions, and we do that today already. So from Verpact, we buy the mono bills for our Geleen operations, the mixed PO bills, they go to Source One Plastics, they make the feedstock for Moratec. So we're starting to do this. Of course, this needs to scale up further in the future. The other is that what we look at is how can we then still optimize the use of the plastics that we receive. So in Source One Plastics, where we make the input material for chemical recycling, in our process we're still trying to take out all the rigids that are still in the streams. All the sorting is still not 100% effective. And so we're trying to take out these rigid streams and bringing them back into mechanical recycling. In our Geleen operations, we do the opposite. So we are targeting rigid streams, but there's still a lot of flexibles in there. We don't want this in the end product for quality reasons. And so we're taking these flexible streams out, and we can bring them later on back into chemical recycling. So this is how we can then optimize the use of the plastics and increase sort of the recycling rate of the plastics into high quality products. And then lastly, I think as the industry demand grows and more capacity is built, we're looking at hubs where we can actually combine all these activities. So today there are assets still far located from each other, but we're looking at how can we then combine feedstock processing hubs where we can take these different build types and optimize sort of the sorting and treatment of them to bring kind of them back into the next recycling steps, mechanical or chemical.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that overview. I see we have some questions starting to come in. Let's throw the QR code back onto the screen so that everybody's sure to be on the page and you can keep your questions coming in. I'd like to come back over to you, Hester, because there was this question of working with different suppliers. So how can brands partner with suppliers to actually identify the best sources of feedstock, and how involved can or should they be in that sourcing?
I think it's really important. We see as an EPR system, if brand owners are involved, they are really a key player in making it more circular, because the design of the products or the materials they use, that's such a big thing to the feedstock, the quality of the feedstock. So if brand owners are owning an EPR system and have a closed loop, the loop is as close as possible, then you see that the circularity is growing and growing. And in the end, if they get it back, they want the materials back, of course, to make their own packaging or other products, then you see that the whole chain will start working. By now, it's really expensive. Only the deposit systems, I think it's a PET packaging to PET packaging, and also cans. That's possible. But other materials and other collection methods are not, well, it's not possible to have them sometimes, but most of it is not going to packaging again. But if you want a closed loop, if you want packaging to packaging, then you need brand owners. And you need them to own the whole material stream, because they want, they do everything to get the high quality feedstock.
Thank you. And Carsten, perhaps you can comment on the biggest concerns from the brand owner perspective in this regard, because I mean there are concerns obviously about degradation of plastics that have passed through too many cycles. What can and what do you need from producers in order to alleviate that issue?
I would say that's not a concern at the moment.
It really isn't.
We're so far away from the fact that we are running the material in loops and loops and loops again. I mean, I've done it 2009 as my studies, doing trials with recycling HDPE a few times. It's not that bad, honestly. So we're not seeing that challenge anymore with material degradation on the HDPE side or on the polypropylene side, at all not on the PET side. So there we
Which
don't.
is good news. Yeah,
Exactly.
fantastic.
So and of course, there's always. I would always. That's my story. We're telling internally and externally. Long term, it will be a bit similar to how it's working on the paper side with the corrugated shipping boxes. You have, of course, high recycling rates, high capturing rates through the retail partners that take the shipping boxes and they go to recycling. Same for the recycling. I mean, we'll not be able to do everywhere 100% recycled plastic. Will be impossible because of the losses in collection or starting with the wrong disposal by consumers. We have some losses in the recycling process. So we'll end up at the end at a scenario where, of course, we as brand owner will try to maximize the amount of recycled plastic, but the remaining one will come from low carbon, virgin-like quality solutions, whether that's chemical recycling, whether that's renewable feedstock. And seeing the setup, I mean, we've run a lot of trials with our converters on this one. Mm-hmm. That is a solution that will work also at scale. So therefore, I'm not so much concerned about the things you mentioned about the degradation, because we'll anyhow have always a constant influx of some high-quality virgin material that will ensure we maintain the quality level needed.
Okay, that's sounding like good news, but I've got Hester over here.
I think there is a degradation, especially with PET, where you have a high quantities of recycled content. Then you already see some degradation. So we have to be prepared that there will be some parts of it in the future. So chemical recycling has to be a part of the solution then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think for polyolefins it may be a bit different, because a lot of the polyolefin packaging is food packaging, and so as long as mechanical recycling, you cannot go back in food, which I think is still far out. I think a lot of companies try to do it, but I think it's a different material than PET. You need to have chemical.
We try to do it with HDPE, so there is a pilot in the Netherlands.
But it means you need to have chemical recycling as part of this recycling solution, and this is virgin quality, and this comes back into the recycling stream. So I think this ratio of mechanical recycled plastics in the recycling stream and chemical recycling and virgin plastics will be at a level that the mechanical recycling still should work quite well.
Okay, I've got a whole pile of questions coming in. Our audience is very awake. I'm so impressed. In the panel opinion, what is the main motivation for brand owners to participate in collection when a deposit system is not a viable option?
I think it's for you, actually.
Is that for you, Carsten?
Yeah. Actually, I have a concrete example.
Wonderful. We love show and tell.
So brought my little bag, so I was very happy that the security people at the airport allowed me to get some old detergent bottles with me. So that is our historic, now retired detergent bottle. So we were in the market for laundry detergents in nice, transparent, polypropylene virgin plastic bottles in the market. Our biggest brand, few billion euros of net sales. So basically the Henkel company was founded based on the Persil brand. That was our brand identity we had for years. And I remember we started around 2015 to address to our management, we'll have an issue with that packaging. It's transparent polypropylene, will never be recycled in closed loop. So we looked into options like, okay, deposit systems. So we talked to the Tom Ras, our management was like, oh, can we get it back, like with the beverage bottles? We went to a lot of recycling companies, to EPRs, and we had to acknowledge we're very small with our bottles. I mean, if you take then the iced tea, the Arizona iced tea, maybe some other detergent brands, you end up with, I don't know, 40 to 50,000 tons of this type of waste, and we'll never get it back, because the entire amount of polypropylene is driven by food packaging, so there's not an interest and not a commercial case to sort it out. So it really took quite some time of convincing our business that this one is not future ready. Because we've seen we have the need and we want also to decarbonize, to achieve also our net zero ambitions, and want to really contribute and lead also in the aspects of circular economy. So what have we done through collaboration with our suppliers, through collaboration with the EPRs, with constant visits? We actually transformed our brands from this one to this one. Was a tough one, knowing that's where you earn the money with, to change it from polypropylene to HDPE, now containing in average more than 50%. So the big bottles we have just 50%, the small bottles are 65 to 70% recycled plastic. So we're able to show it, and by collaborating with the EPR schemes in different markets, visiting the recycling plants. So this bottle, for instance, comes from our factory in Düsseldorf. Some of the PCR comes from Gelen, so it's only 1 hour driving. So from the Basel factory.
I have this detergent in my laundry.
Excellent.
Closet, yes.
So that is a way where we can really show the collaboration of the value chain is really working, and it's a solution that is also cost efficient, because we see in the markets where the EPR schemes are well designed, like in the Netherlands, like in Belgium specifically, now starting slowly also in France, bit in Spain with proper eco-modulation. We see really business case, because that is really highly closed loop recyclable. We see much lower EPR fees. So I checked yesterday on the Verpact website, also with our Recycler tool we have, we save 600 euros per ton on EPR fees as bonus by going through all the steps on the eco-modulation, which means that's basically the investment.
It can add up to 2,000 euros per ton in the Netherlands. So it is really a business case.
Which is interesting, and I noticed you didn't mention Germany in that listing of companies where things are really coming around. A place where obviously plastic consumption per capita is huge. What's the deal with the EPR there?
Germany is a special case.
Yeah,
I think I can speak
it's really
about it.
Always.
We do not have eco-modulation in Germany. That is a problem with the competing system. A lot of work to be done. So likely next year we see eco-modulation coming in. So there's a lot of work to be done. The good thing about Germany is at least it's properly financed. So the EPR fees goes into collection, recycling, but the eco-modulation is not there, which is not giving the incentives. But at the end, for us, a decision factor was we wanted to go to a circular solution for our packaging to reduce our carbon footprint. So independent of the situation, of course, for Germany, the EPR system did not help us on the business case, but
there isn't a collective EPR system in Germany, and that's why there is no eco-modulation.
Tell us more about this eco-modulation scheme and how brand owners can actually benefit from that, and how difficult is it to implement?
Well, how difficult, that you should ask the brand owners, but we have a eco-modulation or fee, not eco-modulation in the Netherlands, where we have started with in 2019. But in 2024, it's also since 2024, it's also possible to get your fee tariff on recycled content. And I think we are the first in Europe, or maybe the first in the world, I don't know. And we see that it helps, because if you have a business case from 2,000 up to 2,000 euros a ton recycled content, then you can do something with your eco-modulation. So only the financial incentive helps, of course, making the closed loop. That's what it is.
I think, let's say, the Dutch system, I think, is a very good example of how these EPR systems can work. I think first, the quality of the material that is provided to the recyclers is much better than in the German system. So I think this is already a plus point. And then I think with these eco-modulation fees, you stimulate also use of recycled content, right? So I think this is a very good example. What I think needs to happen is that this is being sort of harmonized across Europe in sort of legislation framework. Because if every country does this different, it becomes very difficult to manage. You have to get all different quality inputs in your recycling plant. For the brands, it's also difficult, because then you need to look at each country and the benefit of each country, how big, I mean, each country, we need to have more I think European harmonization around these.
I totally agree.
rules. Yeah.
Would be the best. Yeah.
I wanted to make one more comment on sort of the feedstocks. I think what is also I think unique with Henkel and LyondellBasell is that Henkel helps us actually to get feedstock in our Geleen plant. So we're getting bills through Henkel that they get out of their EPR system, and we process them, and we're basically bringing then the pellets back. So of course you cannot say this bottle is in the pellet, but in a way we're trying to close the loop as much as possible together from that perspective.
Great, and then with that we can go back to some of the questions here that have come in from our participants, because there's a couple of questions here about food. Is there a chance that one day mechanical recycling of polyolefins will be able to give us a food-grade product? And if so, what would the industry need in terms of investment and resources to get this done?
Yeah, I think it will be possible, but I don't know how quick it will be. We have a pilot in the Netherlands now with HDPE.
Yes.
But it is still in a really early stage, so we don't know whether it works out or not. I think it will not be enough. So I think it will be possible, but it will never be enough. So you need chemical recycling too, because the quality is always better.
I think there is of course a few challenges. I think first of all, I think in the current, let's say, framework, you need to make sure that your feedstock comes from more than 95% food contacted applications. So that's one. And then the question is, can you do that through sorting, or is there then already contamination created in the sorting that will sort of limit that or limit the product quality? And then otherwise you need to go to closed loop systems. And I think these closed loop systems, on individual examples, it could happen. I think if you look at the gaps that are on the PET bottle, there with PET recyclers, you would need to have some sort of stream to collect that. Maybe there in small quantities this is possible, but these quantities would be in the overall scheme of material needed for packaging will be relatively small. So I think on small quantities and unique concepts may be possible, but at large scale I think it will be extremely challenging. And you imagine if there's all the Holy Grail watermarks activities ongoing to sort on food, non-food packaging, but that needs to be then implemented in every sorting center in Europe. You start to create more streams, you have a more valuable stream, a lower valuable stream. So I'm not sure if it's the solution, but I think I think it's a question of development and trying to understand what is possible in the end. But it will take quite a bit of time in our perspective.
Okay. Should brand owners take color out of their bottles so they don't pollute the stream with color, or will recyclers sort and offer different colors to the market? I thought that follows up kind of nicely from your talking about the sorting.
So I think what we see today, brands, they ask more white recycled material than gray recycled material. And then they ask the white to color the white. And so this then comes back as a gray material into the plant. So in a way you're not making a package that is truly circular, because you're using other packaging to make that packaging again. So if you really want to get circularity, you should make it more white. Than all kind of colors. Of course, there's all kind of brand identity. So I think this change is very great to see that some brands have the courage to change the look of their packaging to enable this recycling. I don't think all the brands today are probably ready to take that step.
But it's more beautiful, the white wine, I think.
I agree. But maybe to add on this one from a brand owner perspective, we see more standardization coming through regulations, coming also through retailer requirements. So there's quite wide consensus on PET. So we see PET packages are fully transparent in more and more markets. So also in our hair care business, which is, let's say, very much aesthetics driven, we've phased out a lot of the color. And also on the HDPE side, there is now more understanding within the industry. I can speak only for Henkel, where we've fully embedded. So when we made this transition from the transparent to the white one, we actually have also a second color, which is dark blue. And for the dark blue, for instance, we use a gray PCR feedstock. In some factories even, we use a blue PCR feedstock. For instance, in Spain, it's basically with a recycling company next door. They deliver a blue PCR, or for our shampoos, one of our biggest brands is Sios. It's a black HDPE packaging. We use also very dark gray PCR. I think in order to drive this concept forward with standardization more of the colors and really embedding circular principles, only one thing is needed: upskilling of the team. So therefore we're very thankful, located in Düsseldorf, close by LyondellBasell, and also other sorting companies, having the ability, so everybody from the marketing, top management, sustainability, onboarding one day, sorting center visit to see how it's happening, so to understand the basics, and that what we see at Henkel, but also overall at the industry, also overall driven by guidelines like the Golden Design Rules from the Consumer Goods Forum. We're seeing more uptake, and we see also more standardization of colors. Absolutely.
And on the back of that, I have a question here from Eric in our audience. Are EU countries proactively working on harmonizing EPR fees? And if so, by what year do you expect to see harmonized EPR fees across the EU?
Oh, to be
We're
honest,
talking about all of these
yes.
discrepancies between the countries.
I don't think that we are working together to get one system, but we do work together with all the collective systems to harmonize them. So we work together with Belgium, we work together with some Scandinavian countries, Italy, Spain, to harmonize those systems. But if you have a system like in Germany, it's really difficult to harmonize because they don't have one system in the country. So, but we try to harmonize it in all those countries which has collective systems. And I see it a little bit coming out of Europe from the regulation, the PPWR, a little bit, but still you can have all kind of different systems in Europe, and I don't think that it will be.
This is not a near future scenario.
No, I don't think so. It would be great. I would really help it if I could, but I don't see it coming now.
Okay.
Sorry, to be honest.
And here's a question for Henkel. How is Henkel marketing its recycling achievements that we see here on the table towards final consumers? Maybe with a kind of a nod to what we heard yesterday.
We claim it to our consumers, so it's always centrally on pack on the front side, and we've done a lot of consumer studies which show at the end that this is a driver for loyalty to the brand. So of course people have connections to the brand, emotional connections like the performance, like the fragrance, and then having another sustainability claim like 100% recycled plastic is another argument for the consumer to say, I can trust this brand. It's high quality, high performing, it's doing the job, that is always the number one. So having a sustainable packaging with a detergent that does not clean is also not an option. We see some of the green players going in that direction to say, okay, we have very sustainable packaging, but I mean, you could also clean with water then at the end. So high performing products with sustainability strongly embedded and claiming to consumers is of course a clear recipe, but we should not forget we have two types of stakeholders. We have our consumers, but we have also our retail customers, and what we see more and more is that the retail customers is actually the first gatekeeper. So not doing sustainability on packaging in the field of home and personal care, we will be punished if we're not driving progress as a company, but also the entire industry. The players that are not active in that field in the home and personal care, because you have a lot of opportunities, you will be heavily punished because you see the market, of course, moving constantly up.
Mm-hmm. I have a number of questions here still on the color, and just perhaps to repeat or reiterate and confirm, the color of the new bottle is still white. Is this recycling friendly, or should it be better gray? The white was. I think what was the answer to that question in terms of the color?
No, I think what Henkel has done is great. They have two colors, a white one and a darker one, and so they are also buying both colors from our plant, and so the material that comes into the plants, basically goes out in that same proportions back to Henkel, and then so they have found a way to really make
You
this
need both.
a closed loop or circular in that sense. So I think this is what I would say would be for brands to be thinking about. Understand if you put a packaging on the market, how can it be recycled, and how can you then use this recycled material back into your packaging?
There is a direct question here for Hester. Verpact, according to a news article that was released today, doesn't want to explain its position on the plastics table discussion, which is being set up as a reaction to skipping the plastic tax, rightfully in brackets, in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
Perhaps
that's
you
a
have
Dutch
comment.
discussion. So, well, there is a discussion.
Very localized,
Yeah,
obviously,
very
for this
local. Yeah.
audience.
There is a discussion in the Netherlands about a plastic tax, a real Dutch tax, not a European tax. It's just a tax the government wants. It's 547 million a year, so it's really a cost. And well, I'm to say it no. It's not a good tax, because we need more money in the plastic chain. If we want to be more sustainable, if we want to have a closed loop, we need more money. And if we have to pay 547 billion euros a year in the chain, wherever it's, well, the producers or the waste companies, the chemical companies, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. If we have that kind of amounts we have to pay, then we have a problem. Mm-hmm. So that was my thing in about the plastic table. Let's talk about progression instead of tax.
Okay. Obviously a dirty word in so many contexts. I think I'm going to have to finish up with maybe a final question for you, Matthijs, because there is a question here. How do you see the potential of dissolution compared to pyrolysis going forward?
So I think if we look at what we're trying to achieve with the dissolution technology or solvent-based technology, is to take a feedstock that today mechanically recycling you cannot bring into a high quality product, and if you want to get a high quality product today, chemical recycling would be the route to choose. What we're trying to do is with that bring it back into packaging, but not food contact packaging. So we're trying to develop this process in such a way that we can decontaminize the feedstock, we can ensure there is gel free or very limited gels in there to blow films again, and to have good transparency on the product. And so we're targeting hygienic films, cosmetic type of packaging in first case, and I think that is already requiring us to invest significantly in all kind of R&D capabilities. In analytical capabilities, you need to test more than 800 substances, whether they exist in the material on very small quantity levels. I think for us this is the first step to demonstrate that you can actually get to a very high quality, pure recycled plastics. I think then we can see, will you take the next step to bring this into food or not? But I think we first need to get to something like cosmetics, get comfortable around the quality, the consistency, get the trust in the market that you can consistently deliver this quality, I think, before we can go into food packaging.
Thank you very much for these sort of varied insights into the material streams for mechanical recycling, and thank you very much to Matthijs Beijk for being here, and to Carsten Bertram and Hester Klein Lankhorst. Round of applause for our panelists. We have to move on to the next one.